Hello everyone and welcome to this tutorial. Today we will go over how to make a custom knowledge chatbot using a vector database and a large language model. This is known as Retrieval Augmented Generation, RAG for short, since we are using retrieved data to improve the response generated by the LLM. For the vector database, we will use Meta's Facebook AI Similarity Search, FAIS database, and for the large language model, we will use Google's Gemini. The first step is to create the vector database using the documents. Here I have three files about the Black Hawk helicopter, F-16, and the F-35. To begin with, we load the documents. Since these are simple text files, the directory loader can be used. It reads the files and returns them in the document format that LangChain uses. Next, the recursive text splitter splits the larger documents into smaller chunks. When querying, these chunks will be returned based on the embedding similarity. After we have loaded the documents and split them into chunks, we use the sentence transformer models from LangChain to create the embeddings. Here are some of the sentence transformer models. You can find out more using the link in the description below. Embeddings are fixed-length vectors that semantically represent a chunk of text. They are used to judge the relevance of the chunks with respect to the user prompt. We pass the documents and the embedding model, and it creates the vector database. Here we are using the all MPNT base v2 model. Then the vector database can be saved so that it can be loaded whenever needed. Just for a demo, I have a folder containing one PDF about the F-16. You can look at the code in pdfloading.ipynb to learn how to make a vector database using PDFs. Now the second step is to make the front end. Before we begin, ensure that you have placed your Google API key in the .env file. You can get the key from the link in the description below. We will be using Streamlit to make the user interface. The first thing is to use .env to load the Google API key. There are multiple functions here which I'll go through later. Here the session state is initiated and the chat history will be added to it. Streamlit reruns the code every time, and putting it in the session state preserves the data. This is some CSS to hide the running animation that Streamlit shows. This is the input box for the user prompt. Now we go to our first function, getChain. First, this is going to define a prompt template where the context, which will reveal the relevant chunks, and the question, which is the user query, can be passed. Then it will call getRetriever, which will load the vector database. Since getRetriever is under st.cacheResource, it will only run once. After that, we construct a retrieval QA chain, which has been specifically designed for semantic search with LLMs. Chains are a construct that allow us to run a sequence of commands. Here, it will take the query and find the relevant chunks. Then it will use those as input variables for the prompt template and get the response from the LLM. After the query has been entered, it will call the function queryIndex. This is going to first see if there is any conversation history. If there is, it will make a refined query using the generateRefinedQuery function. This is an example of few-shot learning because a few examples are given to tell the model what to do. Then the chain and the refined query are used to get the final response from the LLM. After taking this response, it will be added to the session state along with the user query, so that they can be displayed and used to refine future queries. This is going to display the conversation. You can have a different icon by setting the avatar parameter. To run the app, enter streamlit run main.py in the terminal. Here's an example of how retrieval augments the LLM's answer. When I ask Gemini this question, without providing any database, it gives a very generic and inconclusive answer. However, when I ask the chatbot the same question, it gives a straightforward answer which corresponds to this chunk it may have retrieved. If you have any other questions, please let me know in the comments below.